Hi guys, I did my presentation on a book called 2 Years Before the Mast, which was written by Richard Henry Dana Jr. Fun little fact, the background picture is actually a picture of the first ship he ever was on. So a brief summary about this book. It was written by Richard Henry Dana Jr. and it is a memoir of his experience as a sailor from 1834 to 1836. Dana originally was a student at Harvard. However, he began to have an eye illness, and as it just progressed and got worse and worse despite treatments, his doctor suggests he actually go to sea. This was thought a lot as a cure to help with health issues, just as being outside and the salt air. As he suggested do this, he goes and joins the merchant ship, which is called the Pilgrim, and its route is to sail from Boston around Cape Horn all the way to California. The voyage there is mentioned to be extremely difficult for him since he's never been on a ship before. This would be his maiden voyage, as it's called, so he's having to learn all of the expectations, rules, even superstitions that are on board. There's also extreme weather in this area, so it can be pretty dangerous to sail in, and since they're on a ship, you gotta keep everything in order, keep going so that nothing crashes, nothing happens, so they're out there in this weather all the time, essentially no rest or breaks besides when they're sleeping. Their captain as well, who's referred to as Captain Thomas, he's described to be a pretty harsh figure in authority. So he uses some pretty severe punishments on the men, like flogging. He's also just pretty fast to jump to punish them, and not much leniency aboard his ship, which makes Dana's maiden voyage even harder than it already would have been, since he can't really afford to slip up or he'll be pretty harshly punished. Eventually, however, the Pilgrim does reach California, which is still under Mexican control, so it's not part of America, the United States, or anything yet. Dana decides to stay behind to work in the hide house, as well as several of his other shipmates. As his time here progresses, he begins to form pretty close friendships with the Sandwich Islanders, who are also referred to as the Hawaiians. It's just another name they used for them. He really starts to mention that he thinks that they should be getting treated better than they are, or at least a bit more fairly. As he's there, he really starts to form close friendships, just understand more about their culture as well, which just really sticks in his mind that there should be better treatment to them. However, in California, the Native Americans, they're there as also, and he didn't really have the same feeling towards them. It was really just the Hawaiians. He did sympathize for them with how they were treated, but there just wasn't the same emotional connection there. Eventually, after a while of him working in the hide houses, getting those hides stretched, dried, beaten, just ready to go turn into leather from all the ships that are dropping them off, he transfers onto another merchant ship, which is called the Alert, that is going to be making the voyage from California around Cape Horn back up to Boston. This time, the pass around Cape Horn is just a lot more dangerous. However, Dana does already have that prior experience from sailing, and his captain is a lot more reasonable, so he's not as harsh, strict with them, which really makes a difference for them. Eventually, though, they do make it back to Boston, and after 2 years, Dana has finally returned home. Some of the characters throughout this book, while there is a lot, these were kind of some of the ones that stood out the most and really had an impact on him throughout his story. So obviously our main character is our narrator, who's Richard Henry Dana Jr. He is a Harvard student who joins the merchant ship the Pilgrim just as a common soldier due to his eye illness, and that it was thought to, help him out with it. He gives us the first-hand account of what life was like at sea during this time, and also how it was just being in Mexican California. He's described to be pretty intelligent. He's really observant to what's going around him and just picks up on stuff, really curious about just cultures, just things going around him in the world. He's also really sympathetic when it comes to the harsh treatment of sailors, regardless of race. He just thinks that there should be better treatment, period. Our next character was Captain Frank Thompson. He was the captain of the Pilgrim. He's described to be extremely harsh, strict, really just quick to punish the crew as well. He didn't really hear them out on anything. He kind of represents the authoritarian rule that was pretty common among the ship captains at this time. They had to maintain control, so there wasn't anything like mutinies, staying on schedule, but some of them obviously were a lot harsher than other ones were. We also have Mr. M, who was the first mate of the Pilgrim. He was also extremely strict. He was very feared by the crew, not quite as much as the captain, but still pretty much, since he was the one who would enforce the discipline under the captain's orders. Now, the captain of the Alert was described to be a lot less harsh than Thompson. He commanded the ship that Dana sailed on when he was returning to Boston. His leadership really just contrasts what Dana experienced on the Pilgrim and kind of brought a fresh idea of how it can be while you're out here traveling. The crew is just like a generalized group. It's all the people, all the different sailors with different backgrounds. They're from typically all over, like Spain, Italy, France. There's even a few from Scotland, actually. And Dana just really spends a lot of his time on the ships highlighting the suffering, all the unfair treatment they're going through, and the harsh labor that they're having to endure while they're out at sea. On to some more specific people, we have Sam, who is a Kanaka sailor from Hawaii. So Dana develops a really genuine bond with Sam. He describes him as really kind-hearted, just hardworking, pretty cheerful and helpful. Always there, to like help out others. Just see what he can do. He shares his things a lot as well. It kind of has a if one of us has it, all of us have it mentality, which is how a lot of the Hawaiians are described. Dana speaks really fondly of him. There is a moment near the end of the book where Dana does run into Sam again, and Sam's conditions just have not improved. If anything, they've gotten worse. He looks a lot more sick. He's not as happy and cheerful. And the years have just taken a toll on him. And Dana feels pretty bad since they endured a lot together and he felt that they were pretty close. Bill Jackson is another sailor. He was pretty strong, experienced. He was with Dana on his time on the Pilgrim, and Dana just really had a lot of respect for him with his seamanship, sense of justice. They shared work duties actually, so Dana really looked up to him as a role model while he was still trying to figure out everything about sailing and just how it went about. Tom Harris was another sailor that Dana grew pretty close to on the Pilgrim. They kind of bonded over their shared tasks again, and then also just the strict conditions that they were under. Like Sam and like Bill, he kind of just shows the fellowship that would remain among the sailors and how close knit they all were. Nicholas was one of the shipmates who stayed with him in the hide house. He was described to be a pretty large, bulking man. However, he wasn't described to be the smartest. Dana does describe him as one of the strongest people he's ever met. And one of the things that really stands out about him to Dana is that he refuses to go into the United States since he was tried for his life in South Carolina. Even though he probably wouldn't be convicted ever again, he just does not want to go back ever. The final one was Stimson. And Stimson really stood out to Dana on his journey home. So he was on the Alert with him. He was also a fellow American, which first off stood out. However, he also was a Harvard classmate. So he went to Harvard just like Dana did. Because of this, they really bonded over like being able to talk about things easily and kind of just have more intellectual conversations that he's not able to have with a lot of the other sailors.